name changed for protection. This story is based on documented testimonies from multiple defectors and UN reports on DPRK prison camps. Cold open. The baby cried. It was a weak, thin cry, but in the dead silence of the barracks, it rang out like a siren. Soon he clutched the tiny body to her chest, still wet and warm, and for a split second felt something like happiness. Her child. Alive. Breathing. The barracks door flew open. In the doorway stood the guard, the same one who had gotten her pregnant. He looked at her without any expression on his face, like a broken tool that needed to be disposed of. "You know the rules," he said. Soon he knew. She had seen what happened to other women, seen their babies wrapped in plastic and carried away, heard the mother's screams that suddenly went silent. The guard extended his hand. "Give it to me." The baby cried again. So small, so helpless, so alive. "Give it to me." This is a story about what happens in places that officially don't exist. About a system that turns women into slaves and then destroys the evidence of its crimes. About camps where guards rape prisoners and then force them to kill their own children. And about a woman who survived it. Warning: what you're about to hear may shock you. Friends, this story reveals the darkest side of the North Korean regime, a system of concentration camps where hundreds of thousands of people are held in inhuman conditions, where women are raped by guards, where pregnant women are beaten until they miscarry, where newborns are killed in front of their mothers. Former International Criminal Court Judge Thomas Bergenthal, who survived Auschwitz as a child, said, "Conditions in the North Korean prison camps are as terrible, or even worse, than those I saw and experienced in Nazi camps." YouTube suppresses content about crimes against humanity. Algorithms don't promote truth, they promote entertainment. Only your support allows us to tell stories the world needs to hear. Subscribe right now and hit that like button. It's a signal that the voices of victims will not be silenced. Ready? Let's go. Guilt by blood. Sunhai was 23 years old when they came for her. She lived in a small town in the north of the country, worked at a textile factory. An ordinary life of an ordinary North Korean woman. Gray, hungry, but relatively safe. As long as you don't ask questions. As long as you bow to the leaders' portraits every morning. As long as none of your relatives make a mistake. Her uncle made a mistake. Sunhai still doesn't know exactly what he did. Maybe he listened to South Korean radio. Maybe he told a joke about Kim Jong-il. Maybe he simply rubbed someone in charge the wrong way. In North Korea, you don't need evidence. Suspicion is enough. Her uncle was arrested at night. A week later, they came for the rest. In the DPRK, there's a principle called punishment of 3 generations. If one person commits a crime against the state, they punish his parents, his children, and his grandchildren. The regime's logic is simple. You need to tear out the weed by its roots so it doesn't grow back. Sunhai hadn't committed any crime, but her blood was contaminated by her uncle's guilt. That was enough. They took her at night. That's how they always take people. A black car, men in uniform, a brief order. Get ready, you have 5 minutes. She didn't even have time to say goodbye to her mother. She simply vanished, as if she had never existed. The car drove for several hours, then a train, then a truck along a broken mountain road. She didn't know where they were taking her, didn't know what awaited her, didn't know she would spend the next 6 years of her life in this place. The place was called Camp Number 15, one of 6 political prison camps, Kwanliso, in North Korea. Officially, these camps don't exist. Unofficially, they hold around 200,000 people. Most of them will never leave. Welcome to hell. The first thing Soon-hee saw when they pushed her out of the truck was barbed wire. Rows upon rows of it, stretching to the horizon. Guard towers with searchlights. Guards with automatic rifles and dogs. And behind the wire, people. If you could still call them people. They looked like skeletons wrapped in skin, walking dead with empty eyes. They moved slowly, mechanically, like broken dolls. No one looked at each other. No one talked. "Here you will work," said the guard. "Here you will eat. Here you will sleep. Here you will most likely die. If you're lucky, quickly. If not, slowly. But you will die for certain. They all die." She was taken to a barracks, a long wooden building with a dirt floor. 40 other women lived there. They slept on bare boards, 6 to a bunk, pressed against each other for warmth. In winter, temperatures dropped to -20 Celsius, and there was no heating. On her first night, Soon-hee couldn't sleep. She lay in the darkness and listened to the sounds of the barracks. Someone coughing, deep, ragged, endless. Someone crying into a pillow. Someone muttering in their sleep, words that sounded like a prayer. And then she heard another sound. The creak of a door. Heavy footsteps. A flashlight beam sliding across the faces of sleeping women. "You, get up. Come with me." Soon-hee watched as a woman from the neighboring bunk slowly rose and walked to the door. Her face was completely blank. No fear, no resistance. Just the obedience of an animal being led to slaughter. The woman returned only at dawn. She lay down in her spot and turned to face the wall. Soon-hee never spoke to her again. No one did. Everyone knew what happened at night, and everyone stayed silent. The system. The camp's routine was simple. Work, food, sleep. And then work again. Wake up at 5 a.m. Roll call in the yard, in any weather, in any frost. Breakfast. A handful of corn and a cup of murky water. Then 12 hours of work in the mine, logging, or the fields. Lunch. Another handful of corn. Work until dark. Dinner. Thin soup with occasional cabbage pieces. Sleep. And it all starts again. The quotas were impossible, deliberately so. If you didn't meet your quota, you were beaten. If you failed 3 days in a row, you were thrown in solitary. Solitary was the size of a doghouse, impossible to stand or lie down. People sat there for weeks, going mad from pain and immobility. Food was scarce, deliberately so. Prisoners ate anything they could find: grass, tree bark, rats, insects. Soon-hee saw people fight over a dead frog. Saw those dying of hunger try to chew their own clothes. People died every day, from exhaustion, from disease, from beatings, from executions. Bodies were piled behind the barracks, then burned or buried in mass graves. No names, no graves, just gone, as if they had never existed. But there was one way to survive, one way to get a little more food, a slightly easier job, a slightly better chance of making it to tomorrow. The guards. Guards in the camps had absolute power. They could kill any prisoner without explanation, and nothing would happen to them. They could take any woman at any time, and nothing would happen to them. The system didn't just allow violence, it encouraged it. Some women agreed on their own, not because they wanted to, because they wanted to survive. Sex in exchange for an extra portion of corn. Sex in exchange for work in the warmth instead of the cold. Sex in exchange for one more day of life. Soon he held out for almost a year. And then a guard chose her. The guard. His name was Comrade Pak. He was around 40, stocky, with a flat face and small eyes that never expressed anything but boredom. For him, this was just a job. Guard the enemies of the people. Beat them when required. Shoot them when ordered. Rape them when he felt like it. Nothing personal. He came for Soon Hee for the first time on a winter night. She woke to a flashlight shining in her face. "You, come." She knew what it meant. Everyone knew. She could refuse Enye, but then beatings, solitary, death. She could scream Enye, but who would hear? Who would help? She got up and followed him. What happened in the storage room behind the barracks, Soon Hee doesn't describe in detail. She only says it was cold, that it smelled of kerosene and sweat, that she stared at the ceiling and counted the cracks in the boards until it was over. Then the guard buttoned his pants and threw her a piece of bread. "Next time, come on your own. I'll give you more." She didn't come on her own, but he came for her Enye every week, sometimes more often. This continued for months. She learned not to think, not to feel, just to disconnect. Her body was there, but she was somewhere far away. And then her body betrayed her. She realized she was pregnant when the morning nausea started, when her belly began to grow under her prison uniform, when something moved inside her, Enye alive, real, innocent. And she understood that this was a death sentence. The policy of elimination. In North Korean camps, there's an unspoken rule. Children of prisoners must not be born. If a woman gets pregnant in the camp, Enye, regardless of how Enye she's forced, to have an abortion. The methods vary. Sometimes it's an injection of salt water directly into the uterus. Sometimes beatings until she miscarries. Sometimes a woman is forced to carry bags of rocks on her back and work until her body gives out. One survivor told UN investigators, "The guards put bricks on her back and made her walk like that every day. After a week, she gave birth. The baby was alive. I was ordered to wrap it and take it outside." Outside, it was January, -20. The baby froze to death within hours. If the abortion fails and the baby is born alive, Enye it's killed, wrapped in plastic and left to suffocate, drowned in a bucket of water, fed to the guards' dogs. These aren't isolated cases. This is a system, documented, confirmed by dozens of testimonies. If babies have to be delivered, babies have to be killed. This is the procedure, said former guard An Myung-chul, who worked in the camps from 1987 to 1994. But there are cases even more terrible. When a woman gets pregnant by a guard, that's a problem for the system. The guard shouldn't leave traces. There shouldn't be evidence of what he did to the prisoner. So such women are killed, along with their children. Pak Ju-yong, a defector who grew up in a camp for 21 years, testified, "Women who become pregnant by guards are taken from the camp and secretly killed. The babies are fed to dogs. The guard is then simply transferred to another position." Soon Hee knew all of this, knew what awaited her and her child, knew there was no chance. And still, she couldn't bring herself to go to the camp doctor and ask for an abortion. Couldn't kill what was growing inside her. the only living thing that belonged only to her. Question for you. How many children do you think have been killed in North Korean camps over the 70 years of the regime's existence? How many mothers have been forced to watch their newborns die? And how many more children will perish while the world stays silent? Write your thoughts in the comments. The birth. She hid her pregnancy as long as she could, wore a uniform one size larger, wrapped her belly with rags, worked alongside everyone else, though every movement caused pain. The other women in the barracks knew. Of course they knew. In the camp, you can't hide secrets. But no one reported her. Maybe out of solidarity. Maybe out of indifference. What difference does it make? Everyone dies anyway. Guard Pak knew too. He stopped coming for her when her belly became visible. Just disappeared, as if she didn't exist. As if he had nothing to do with it. Labor began at night, in the barracks. Soon-hee bit down on a rag to keep from screaming. Women from the barracks helped as they could. One held her hands, another whispered something soothing. A former nurse, also a prisoner, delivered the baby by the light of a kerosene lamp. The baby came at dawn, a boy, tiny, wrinkled, but alive. He cried, weakly, thinly, and that sound was the most beautiful and most terrifying sound Soon-hee had ever heard in her life. Beautiful because he was alive, her son, her blood. Terrifying because she knew what would come next. The barracks door flew open within minutes. The choice. Guard Pak stood in the doorway. Behind him, two more with automatic rifles. He looked at Soon-hee, at the baby in her arms, at the blood on the rags. "I warned you," he said. "Told you to get rid of it." He hadn't warned her. He had simply stopped coming. But what difference did it make? She couldn't have done anything anyway. "Give it to me." Soon-hee held the baby tighter. He was so warm, so alive. His heart was beating. She could feel it through the thin fabric of the swaddling cloth. "You can hand it over yourself," said the guard, "or we'll take it by force, and then we'll take you. Choose." Everything was quiet around her. 40 women lay on their bunks and watched. No one moved. No one said a word. They had all seen this before. They knew how it would end. One of the guards stepped forward and tore the baby from her arms. Soon-hee screamed. For the first time in all her time in the camp, she truly screamed. Tried to get up, reached for her son, but Pak struck her across the face and she fell back onto the bunk. "Shut up, or it'll be worse." She watched as the guard took a piece of plastic. Watched him wrap the baby in it, still crying, still alive. Watched him walk out of the barracks and close the door behind him. The baby's cry grew quieter, then stopped altogether. Soon-hee lay on the bloody rags and stared at the ceiling. She didn't cry. The tears had run out somewhere in the first months in the camp. She just lay there and listened to the silence. That night, something inside her died. Something that made her human. She continued to breathe, eat, work inye, but it was no longer her. Just a shell. Just a body. Sun-hye spent another 4 years in the camp after that night. She doesn't remember them clearly. Days blurred into one endless gray stream. Wake up, work, eat, sleep. Wake up, work, eat, sleep. She moved mechanically, like everyone else. A walking corpse among walking corpses. Guard Pak never came for her again. Maybe he lost interest. Maybe he found another victim. Maybe he was transferred Inye, as they usually do with those who leave traces. She survived because she didn't want to die, not because she loved life, and she had lost that long ago, but because she wanted to tell the story someday, wanted the world to know, wanted her son Inye nameless, buried in a nameless pit behind the barracks, and not to be forgotten entirely. In 2012, the regime announced an amnesty to celebrate the centennial of Kim Il-sung's birth. Some prisoners were released, not out of mercy, but to relieve overcrowded camps. Sun Hee was among them. She was released into nothing. No documents, no money, no right to return to her hometown. Her family no longer existed. Her mother had died while Sun Hee was in the camp. Their home was confiscated. She was free, formally. But where does someone go when everything has been taken from them? The escape. Sun Hee knew she couldn't survive in North Korea. Former prisoners don't get hired here. They're watched. They can be taken back at any moment for a real or invented crime. There was only one way out: escape. The path from North Korea to the free world leads through China. Thousands had made the journey before her, and thousands died without reaching their destination. Border guards shoot without warning. Chinese police catch refugees and send them back to certain death. Human traffickers sell women into slavery. Sun Hee walked at night, hid in forests, ate whatever she could find, swam across the Tumen River, icy, fast, deadly dangerous. In China, she was caught twice. The first time she managed to buy her way out. She sold herself to a human trafficker in exchange for a promise not to turn her in. She was sold to a Chinese farmer in a remote village. She lived there as a slave, worked the fields, endured beatings, waited for her moment. A year later, she escaped again. This time, she reached an underground network that helps North Korean refugees. They smuggled her through Laos, then Thailand, from there to South Korea. In 2015, 9 years after they took her to the camp, Sun Hee first set foot on land where she was truly free. Life after. Today, Sun Hee lives in Seoul. She has a small apartment in a residential district, a simple job, an ordinary life, as ordinary as it can be for someone who survived hell. She still can't have children. The camp, giving birth without medical care, years of hunger and exhaustion, all of it destroyed her body from the inside. Doctors shake their heads. Medicine is powerless. She still wakes up in a cold sweat in the middle of the night. She dreams of the barracks, the baby's cry, the creak of the door. She dreams of Guard Pak's face, indifferent, bored. She dreams of the plastic they wrapped her son in. She still flinches when she hears Korean speech with a northern accent, when she sees people in uniform, when someone opens a door suddenly. But she tells her story to journalists, to human rights activists, to UN commissions, to anyone willing to listen. Because silence is what the regime wants. Silence is their greatest weapon. I can't bring back my son, she says. Can't bring back 6 years of my life. Can't erase what they did to me and thousands of other women. But I can speak. And I will speak as long as I live. As long as even one person is willing to listen. Finale. Right now, as you watch this video, 6 political prison camps exist in North Korea. By various estimates, they hold between 100 and 200,000 people. Among them are women, just like Sun Hee once was. Someone right now is working in a mine to the point of exhaustion. Someone right now is eating tree bark to avoid dying of hunger. Someone right now is hearing the creak of a door and the footsteps of a guard walking toward her bunk. And someone right now is holding a newborn baby in her arms and knows that in a few minutes they will take it from her. The world knows about these camps. The UN has issued reports. Human rights activists have gathered thousands of testimonies. Satellite images show the barracks, the towers, the graves. And nothing happens. The Kim regime continues to exist. The camps continue to operate. Women continue to give birth to children who are taken from them. And the world continues to stay silent. Sun Hee's story is a story about what a system is capable of when it's allowed to exist. When people look the other way. When they say, "It's not our business." When they choose the comfort of ignorance over an uncomfortable truth. Her son lived for a few minutes. He had no name, no grave. Nothing except a mother who remembers him every day. And now, except for you. You also know that he existed, that he was alive, that they killed him. Don't forget it.